They want to know if I ever beat you in tennis. Tell them I kicked your ass in tennis.
Kremens never beat me in tennis.
That's a lie.
Well, as we're streaming through the rest of the world, we now know that there's
Actually, you did. In 1979 in Lexington, Kentucky, the first time we ever played, I was ahead 5-3, and I hit a forehand to your forehand, and you chased it down, dove on the cement, and got it back, and I was laughing so hard I couldn't return it.
Folks, Jim Larrañaga is with us to talk a little basketball as we finish out our 2015 Operation Basketball here in Charlotte with the Atlantic Coast Conference. Coach, we have microphones set up in various areas. Coach Kremens has not asked a question yet today. We hope he does ask one as we finish out. If somebody has a question, we'll get started. Hearing none, the buzz on the streets is that the weight room during the off season has been the place where your kids have really started to make a turn. Not that a big turn was needed, but the weight room may turn out to be beneficial.
Our head strength and conditioning coach, Steve Feldy, does an absolutely fantastic job. And our players were very hungry after last season when they were disappointed we didn't get selected for the NCAA tournament. And even though we had a great run in the NIT and made it to Madison Square Garden and went to the championship game and almost won that game, the moment that season ended, our guys were bound and determined to do whatever they could to put us in the best position possible to be back in the NCAA tournament again. And that meant strength and conditioning. And they've worked very, very hard. The best example of that, although he's just one of many, is Ivan Cruz-Uceda, who weighed 237 pounds last year, 24% body fat, is now 217 pounds and 9% body fat. And he looks like a new man. But all the guys have lifted. They're much stronger and much better prepared physically to go into the ACC and battle the best teams in the country.
Does that change your approach at all on how it is you're going to coach this team, knowing that they are more physical?
No, we've always coached a physical brand of basketball. We always wanted to be the fastest, the strongest, the quickest, the most physical team. But there are a lot of teams in our league that are very strong and very physical. So that you don't want them pushing you around. So you've got to be strong and tough just to meet the competition and hopefully gain an edge.
Questions for Coach. There it is. The first
Coach Kremens, the first question in the history of his broadcasting
What have you
career.
done with the 30-second shot clock?
Well, the first thing is we had the experience in last season's NIT of playing with 30 seconds. And before last season, in the preseason, we went to Spain and played with a 24-second clock. So what we did is we instituted a basic rule that when we ran half-court offense in practice, we did it with a 15-second clock. And when we played full court, we played with a 25-second clock, so that our guys would get acclimated to playing a little bit faster, making quicker decisions, and yet still making good decisions and not turning the basketball over or taking bad shots.
Coach, the transfer, Kamari Murphy from Oklahoma State. Obviously, he's going to bring some Power 5 experience with him, but what other intangibles is he going to bring to your roster?
Well, Kamari Murphy is an outstanding athlete at 6'8". He can guard the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. He's a tremendous defender and has no limitations in that area. He can shot block, he can rebound, he's fast, he jumps extremely well. But I think the best thing about Kamari is he knows his strengths and he knows his limitations. So he fits in beautifully with this team because he's not one of those players who has a serious adjustment because he takes a lot of shots. This team already has a lot of offensive weapons. So if he came in thinking he was going to get 20 shots a game, he would have been disappointed and frustrated. Now he knows his role, he understands his role, but he loves his role because it adds so much to this team. It's what we need. We need a great defender.
You've got new faces on the floor. You've got new faces wearing suits and ties as well with some new assistant coaches.
Yeah, that was quite a challenge for me, losing two very dear friends, but very happy for both Michael Uger, who became the head coach of Bowling Green State University, where I coached Michael during his 4-year college career. He was a terrific player. He was a terrific pro in Europe. He was a fantastic assistant for me, both at George Mason and Miami. So we wish him well. And then Eric Conkle left for Louisiana Tech, again, a guy who had been with me for 12 years. But we were able to hire Jamal Brunt from the University of Richmond, who has made the transition to Miami and to our program extremely well. Very, very likable guy. I know our players really care for him. We elevated Adam Fisher because he had a lot of familiarity already with the program. And we brought back James Johnson, who worked for me at George Mason University back when we made our run to the Final Four 10 years ago. James has great experience, both as an assistant and as a head coach in the ACC, and is adding an awful lot and taking a lot of responsibilities off my shoulders.
Questions for Coach? 4 starters, seniors. It's got to give you some confidence when they throw that ball up in the air, yes?
We've got 5 starters returning, and 4 of them are seniors. We have 2 juniors, 2 sophomores, and 2 freshmen. So when you look at our senior class, you see a point guard in Angel Rodriguez, you see an outstanding athletic scoring wing in Sheldon McClellan, you have a stretch 4 in Yvonne Cruz-Yacida, and you've got the big man in the middle, Tanya Jakiri. Davon Reed is our 5th starter, who has 3 years of experience, so this will be his 3rd year. He's terrific, playing at a very, very high level right now in practice, and that's a really strong, experienced starting unit.
When Angel was with us this morning, he was very level, very businesslike. Now, is that the bright lights in the microphone, or is that the way he is in just everyday action?
No, I think he's a pro. You know, he's a college player, but he's a professional. He's smart, he's street smart, he understands marketing, he understands branding, he understands leadership, and he's going to play beyond college somewhere.
The freshmen, this time next year, as they become sophomores, what do you hope we're saying about them as the 15, 16
I'm hoping you're picking them in the preseason all-conference teams, because Anthony Lawrence Jr. and Ebuka Ezundu are 2 terrific freshmen. I love both of them. Anthony Lawrence Jr. is very versatile. He can probably play the 2, 3, or 4. He can handle the ball. He shoots it, goes very well to the basket. He's much stronger than most freshmen. He was benching 260 at our first weightlifting session, so he's very advanced in that regard. And then Ebuka Ezundu is from Charlotte in terms of where he played his high school basketball at Victory Christian. He originally hails from Nigeria, 6'9" with a 7'2" wingspan. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with someday. He's not right now. He's a little bit raw, but with a great upside.
Other questions for Coach before we end on a very lighthearted note? Coach, we understand that you had an episode in a restaurant the other night in which you were mistaken for someone famous. Could you take us through that story, please?
Yeah, I eat regularly, and our team eats some meals at a local restaurant called Schuler's, a restaurant at one time that was owned by Don Schuler in Coral Gables. And because I go there regularly, I'm often recognized. And I went in last Friday night with my wife and with another couple, and as I walked in, several people recognized me. But as I was just about to be seated, a gentleman about 30 years old got up from his seat and came over, and he was saying, "I'm so excited to meet you. Can I shake your hand?" And I said, "Sure." I shook his hand, and he said, "You can't imagine how excited I am. Your imitation, your impersonation of Bernie Sanders on SNL was absolutely awesome." And then he turned and said, "Honey, this is Larry David, you know, of Curb Your Enthusiasm." So I said, "Well, thanks for the compliment, and I'm going to have a seat."
Folks, Jim Larrañaga in Miami, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Folks, that's going to wrap us up for Operation Basketball 2015. We appreciate those